Hey guys, this is the professor, and this is part 4 of Log Cabin Baking Mix Mess Kit Muffins. I got my USGI mess kit. Found there's lots of uses for it besides the standard using it for the skillet or using the plate to eat out of. The pan itself reminded me a lot of a muffin tin with places for 2 muffins that are fairly long, and so it'd make a perfect way to make muffins along the trail. One to eat now, maybe one to take for later. So the first thing we did then was to measure out 2/3 of a cup of our log cabin baking mix. Now typically I don't worry much about measuring anything, but for this application it's pretty important that we don't mix up too much batter to fit in the pans of the mess kit, because we don't want those to be too full, because if you get them too full then they'll rise up, hit the top, and burn. It makes them inconsistent, hard to get them done. So 2/3 of a cup of the baking mix plus 1 tablespoon of sugar, and I've added that at home before we came, put it in the Ziploc bag. Now also, since you're mixing in the bag, it's a little hard to tell how much liquid to put in there. Usually I don't measure that either. I just pour some in, kind of go by how it looks, go for the thick batter. But in this case, I found it better to measure everything out in advance. So first of all, I have a 1 cup measure, and to that I've already broken my egg. Another thing I carry along the trail is a little bottle of cooking oil. This is canola, and what I'm going to do there is to add about a teaspoon, a little bit of oil. There's obviously shortening in the mix already, but when it comes to muffins, you want the inside of the muffins to be a little more tender and flaky on the inside, so a little oil will help that. And since it already adds to the liquid, it adds some volume. Now we'll take some plain water from our canteen and just bring that on up to the 1/2 cup, so that we've got our 1/2 cup of liquid. This will give us the proper amount of liquid when we mix it up, so that it'll be the correct consistency and also fill the muffin pan to the correct height. Okay, now we'll go ahead and add the liquid to the baggie full of dry ingredients. And what we might want to do now is to take our spoon and beat this egg up a little bit. Sometimes when you're just squishing the bag, it's a little bit hard to get the egg to be totally incorporated. So I think it helps to stir that up a little bit before we begin the mixing process. For that, I'm just using the spork out of my Microbites cook kit here. And now we'll go ahead, seal up the bag, and go ahead and finish mixing it. Next of all, we want to oil up our mess kit pan real well here. We've got some oil that we added a while ago, and we need to put a kind of a generous amount of that in there, and then move it around so that we completely coat the inside surfaces, especially on the sides of the mess kit pan. Otherwise, our muffins might stick. Okay, now that we got the batter mixed up, cut 1 corner off of the bag and start squeezing that out into the muffin pan. Once again, the idea here is to divide the batter equally so that we fill each half of that to about the same level. Okay, now we're going to bake our muffins. First of all, again, we're going to use a trivet. Trivet is a little gadget here with legs that are about 1.5 inches long, and they'll hold our mess kit up above the coals a little bit. We want plenty of heat on the bottom and even more heat on the top. So what I'll do is take the shovel now, get a good shovel of coals, which we'll put out here on the hearth at the edge of the firebox. We'll go ahead then and set our trivet right over that. And that way we're going to be able to get some heat on the bottom of the muffins to begin the browning process there. Our muffin batter is in the pan now, of course. And what I'm going to do is take the skillet portion of my mess kit, go ahead and put on a trivet, and get coals on the top. Once again, a good scoop of coals. We'll start putting the heat on the top of there. Put as many coals on as we want on the top. We'll have to be a little bit careful on the bottom though, because we can get too much heat down there and burn them. To start with, I've got a lot of coals on there. I'm going to go ahead and get that heated up. And in the oven at home, we say 425 degrees for 15 minutes. Here in the log cabin, oftentimes it takes a little bit longer, more like 25 minutes. So what we'll do is we'll test them here in a few minutes and see what we've got. Okay, our muffins are done. We can see here, might have burnt a little tiny spot there on this one. Probably had one coal that I didn't keep moving around often enough, but they're brown, they look good all the way through. We're ready to try some of them. Okay, our muffins are finished up here. We can see that we might have burnt a little bit here on the sides and across the bottom. Sometimes with coals, you don't want as much heat on the bottom as you have on the top. And I might have burnt them a little bit along the side, but they're still looking pretty good. Golden brown on the top, a little burnt here perhaps on the sides as well, but they'll be fine. I'll have that with some of my homemade plum jelly and in a cup of tea. They'll be great here in the log cabin. This is the Professor, and I'll see you soon.